I just realized a little. Well, I kind of was aware of it a little bit. I was thinking about doing these shutters that are going to go in here to hide or expose the laser. It'll be here. It's such a small part that like it didn't. For some reason, it just built a whole bunch of little rectangles. Like those two are kind of together, fused together, but the rest of them, and then there's a pair there. Once in a while, there's a pair that's fused together, but most of it you can see right through them. So I thought maybe even just running either a piece of wire or tape, and once I paint this side, you won't see it, and then it would be flexible to allow it to move. Um, I'm thinking maybe Solares. I completely coat it because really what this is for is um, you can make fishing lures with it. I'm wondering if it'll work. I never used this to glue anything, and especially with the noticing how hard it is to get it in and out. Now, should I use the flexible? Or should I use more the regular? So, yeah, this will work as a glue for that. So what I did is I just ran a piece of tape back here to hold these together. I'm going through with some sandpaper and smoothing out this edge. Probably should even do the inside too. We'll just tape the outside and do the opposite because there was kind of some bumpies. Yeah, it's still a little rough down there. The smoother I can get it, the better I think we'll have with sliding these shutters open and closed. So let's see how this works. We got it all dammed up. Everybody looks spaced correct. If I put it to this channel, we look fairly correct. Well, there's nothing to it but to do it. Should get my flashlight and make sure my flashlight is charged. Yep. Is there a way to? I totally forget. I think the battery's rechargeable if I was smart. Yeah, I got the one that you can USB charge. Plus, I have another one. I think I got two. It came in a 2-pack. I think that one there is solid, but tell me this stuff's thick. There it comes. I might need a little magnifying, see what's going on here. Yeah, because I can see where now I can see where I didn't get any in. So you can see it's actually doing something. Okay, that worked good. I think. I think I'm still gonna give it a little sanding while it's still on there. There we go. And it should keep sliding, and then hopefully do that. It's definitely doing better, especially if I can get it to move in and out like that. Hey, now how's it going to be with friction on both sides? I still don't see how I'm going to be able to pull these. Yeah, yeah, we gotta figure something out there. Man, I just wish that was, or this was in a slightly bigger scale. Well, I'm gonna keep macking on. I'm not gonna waste you guys until I figure this out, or just sitting there constantly sanding. Well, I am starting on one of these other cylinders. Here's the other one. The wires are already through and everything. But so I did a lot of the cleaning and getting this to fit nice and tight, and so it moves smoothly, like this one will. And you got that tilt, and you got that tilt. One problem I had is, where is that part? Uh-oh. Where'd it go? Well, it's the shutters for that. They're too thin. Here I tried another reprint to see if I can get one to print better, but it's just doing the same thing. It's so thin, especially for maybe the filament. I don't know if you print this in resin, it will print a back, but it needs a back here. Really, what they should have done. I mean, it's going to be hard in this size, but really, what they should have done is just made it a whole piece because it doesn't really need to flex. If it's the right shape and everything, it should slide in there fine. And then just made, like almost like panel lines to simulate that it's different, that it's like a shutter style door, instead of actually making it separate little pegs. Because that way it probably would have printed, even though a lot of the detail panel line, I mean, it could have been very small, like just panel lines to simulate those bars. But yeah, it's less than a millimeter, so I think it's like 0.7 something. I measured it in the slicer. Yeah, it's less than a millimeter. So that's tough. But what I think I'm gonna do with this, so I did stick it in there, so it's at least in there. If you try to, and it's hard to get, this one especially was hard to even try to get it to slide, even with just one half, when I didn't have it together. When these two parts are apart, because there is a track that it rides in to keep it from moving, and it slides up in here and then closes. That's the little notch for it to close. And oh, I already have it in here. That's right. I don't even know if I can get this one to slide. Nope. This one, it's really tight. I mean, you could always, if it stayed as a solid piece, you could always grind this so it was a little narrower, so you had some room to slide it. But that's just too much. Too much. So what I decided to do is put the first ones I printed in there. So when it's open, so when you see it in the lasers, because this is where the laser cannons that he has come out and he hits the TIE fighters with. I guess they're a plasma beam or something like that. Not really a laser, but so I figured I'd put them in so it looks like they are there when it's open. And then I think what I'm going to do is, when I don't want them open, I'll fix these up and then maybe cut them a little shorter because they're made to fit in, inside a track here. So I'll have to cut them a little shorter so they fit into that. I don't know if maybe I can print it smaller. That would probably be a better idea. That might be what I do. because then to try to cut, I can try to glue all these together and then try to cut them. So I'm gonna maybe scale it down like this. Just change the Z-axis just a little smaller and leave everything else the same. That would probably be the way. But I'll make one that I can sit here and somehow, you have this notch here that I can get it to go in, and then it can lay on top of the door that's shutter door that's already slid up. It can lay on top of that and somehow try to make it a friction fit so it just kind of snaps in there, but then when you want it off, you can just and then show your laser cannons. That seems like the best way to do it. It would have been neat to have them actually slide. Maybe if you print this in resin, which I think I might eventually do later on. This is a good size ship for a resin print. It's not, it won't be too heavy because it's not real large. And I've seen some really nice ones online that were printed in resin. And it definitely steps up the detail too, especially with this scale. But this was working for me. But anyway, I'm digressing. But that's what we're going to do with the shutter doors. But we're starting on this one. These are definitely a pain in the butt. You have to do a lot of sanding to get them, because what I noticed on this one is it was hard to get these to close tight because of all the garbage in here. So then I learned I really had to clean these, and not even just clean them, actually just thin them out a hair and really clean these sides and do all that before I start gluing, because I started trying to glue this and I had to try to get these two parts of it, which is that there, to fit tight. So I didn't have because before when I put that on there, I had like a gap like that. And I need them together so that this thing will rotate together. So usually your first one with a complex part like that is always the learning experience, and the next one goes smoother. And this one's been going a lot smoother. I knew where I had to file on these to get these to fit right. These are the little end caps that go. I always have the wrong one on one side. Yeah, these are the little end caps. So. But you have to get all these wires through first, which truck into a trench here, come out a little peg here, go up, and then eventually they'll go into the wing. There's a little hole there that it'll go back to the engine. And I think what I'm going to do is I'll glue these to the wing and paint that all with the wing. Because that way we can get a good glue bond without paint and having to scrape paint and anything like that. Because this end that goes into the ship, I can always tape, or it's easy to file clean. Then those little feet, there's little feet that attach to here. That way this has another pivot point, I guess. But when I'm looking at the picture, it should assemble the same way. I always have that hole down there because there's little nubs in here that help this stop. This part here of this nub. That part right there catches these little, there's two little bumps. One for it to stop when it's up, one for it to stop. Definitely this is where it's really going to help, is that one, so that the wing just doesn't plunk. Otherwise this thing would rotate almost all the way around. So they have two little bumps. I don't know if I can get it to do it. It would be this way. Yeah, there's two little bumps and it catches it there, and then when you spin it, it comes around and hits that one there. It's like the thing that was in Soka's ship for the wings that have it, so it doesn't keep going all in a circle. So, all right. So if I this way, then I know, and then this points up. This hole here is for to put the wire through and bring it out that way. And the open part, or where the shutter door is always going to be the outside of the ship, of course, because it would be like that. When that beam comes out, it's got to go outwards. Otherwise, it would go right into the ship. So that's how we go. And then when you look at that, this piece, it's best to, there's the outside. You want to make sure you have the right one of these. Those bumps should be like at 2 and 7 towards your bottom. And the way to tell which is the bottom of this is that open wire hole. If you look on the where it attaches on the ship, there's where that plugs in. And there's the hole that allows the wire to go through. So that's the bottom. I'm wondering if I should make this fit now instead of when it's all together. Right away, I can see. Got a little bit of something going there. Yeah, we probably should make it fit in there now, I'm thinking. And then I'm not dealing with all these. But mostly it was this here. That's just extra filament that's stuck from the support. Even though I'm using like a 2.5, maybe I should use something larger. So the supports don't build that. Let's see. Problem is, it's hard to tell. It's hard to get your eyes in there to see where we're hitting. There it goes. Yeah, that's better. It's a snug fit, but I'd rather have a snug fit. Alright, so that's good. Now again, put that towards the bottom. Just makes it easier to pay attention to what you're doing. And then that's at 2 and 7-ish. And that goes like that. But we got to get epoxy, and then we glue one of these down. And that'll be this one. Get this one out of the way, or I'll keep grabbing it. Yep, that's going to be that one. We need to get some epoxy. And then we'll have to clamp that to keep it together. Probably should have got the wire going through here. What the wire does is it goes up and over top of that nub, not down here where the part meets the hits the little bumpy thing. It's going to go up and around, and it's going to sit like that inside there. So we can actually even hold it like that. And once again, took it back, spent quite a lot of money buying repetitious kits. Do that just to make sure our wires aren't snagging. Now, on the screen now, this is always the fun part. And it's through the screen. It's 5 inches across. There we go. Right, well, we didn't know it was going to go that close, but it was actually really close. So we bought these 1/600 scale battleships, particularly HMS Belfast, and we bought like 50 of them. I'm getting a lock. So that we could get like a repetition. Oh, that's because that's as far as it. And see how now that this cap's on here, I can go up and it locks, stops it, and I can go down and it stops it. This one's fitting a lot better together because I was aware of all those other problems. Now here's the fun point, because we got to glue there, we got to glue there, and there. Right, yeah, that's really it. You gotta fish you through that little hole. And this really can go out any direction. But if we can get it to go out the right way, it'll stay out of our way where we're gluing. And up and over that nub. There we go. And just like that. How are we doing? Could be tighter. But that'll work. Oh, just got my. That we didn't want. And we don't want that there. We got plenty of red epoxy to put back on here. Now let's get this cap on. And it has like a square, and then the other part's an arch, so that helps you lock it in there. Did I get that on there right away? Get out of town. There we go. Pop. That went much better together. And then what I'll do is I'll just take a squeeze that. I think last time I squeezed it with this here. And I'll just get another clamp. Let's see if I can get another clamp on that. Maybe two, because I need to keep it from moving on both directions. I wonder if I use one of these little ones for this way to keep them from twisting. And if I can get another one like that, squeeze them together. Yeah, that one's doing it. Sometimes you can flip these feet and then they work like a gripper. There we go. Yep, that's working. And then to keep this big piece together, I was just taking this. I opened it up too much. I think I was going like this. Get all these wires out of the way. And I do have enough wire, because if you just kind of, if you go like this, you can see it goes way past the wing, so it gives me plenty. But let's get this glue together, or clamp. There we go. We look fairly tight-ski and aligned. Yeah. All right, well, that's set. What else? What am I doing? Oh, I got the, I don't know if I can pop this back on here. Yeah. I got our clear part in there. That's working great. Printed it. I had to do a little bit of filing to get it fit in there good and tight. And that's all I'll do. I might even keep this so I can take this out if I need to. Just in case I do have to get in there. I'll just tack this in here because it's a good pressure fit. Oops. And then you see I just popped it in. It's just a pressure fit right now. But I might just tack it. So if I ever need to get in here, not that it, I'd still have to pop that out, and then but we'll tack that and then put that on there. But it worked great. It's glowing it nice, and it's doing exactly what I was hoping, that once this diffuses and grabs all the light, you can barely tell which bulb is flickering differently and stuff. So It looks like a nice engine. And then here's my wing ones. I finally got these. It took a couple prints to get the right exact size. It might be hard to see, but there you go. And there's our angled ones for the wing engines. That'll go back here. Like I said, I'm going to hold off on attaching this. Well, no, we'll be able to because we're like I decided I'm gonna hook these on first, so then I can run the wire through. I'll stick it out. We'll attach this first and get the wires through the hole. Have them come out. There's the hole right there. You can see it. There's the hole right there. We'll get this glued on first and have the tails coming out there, and then we'll work on. Well, the other issue, we'll just we might just coil the wires here and just tape them here and then paint this whole wing because we can't completely build the engine because we have a clear part going back there, and if we start spraying with that clear part, there's no once that clear part's in there, we kind of got to do that at the same time as we're building this whole already notched for the other bulb. Is this the right wing? Probably not. Nope. It's for this one. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, once you have that, here's the grills. Oh, no, that's not the new ones I just printed. Where are the new ones? There's the grills. You think I grabbed the right grill? Nope. Murphy's Law. Because then they go in there like this. But then we got to put this behind them. And all that has to happen before this gets put down. Yeah, I got to think about that. But I think what we're going to do is, we'll build all that. We'll paint this and then we'll build all this. Get the bulbs in and have it ready for wiring. We can even maybe do the jumper between this bulb and that bulb. So then all we have to do is attach the positive and the negative. But we'll jumper the two bulbs. And then we'll do that. And then actually attach it. Down, but as you can see, we're going to have to do all this once this is painted and then put this down. And maybe I'll even paint this something a hair different to give it some difference. But I think I'd rather have it the same hull color. Maybe the grills will do something different. I'm thinking about doing all the grills something different. Yeah, because I don't think we can slide these in. I guess you can. Yeah, you might be able to. Because I could always glue the clear part to that and then slide that in. I almost would have to put some, with a toothpick, put some glue back there that it can slide into. We'll figure that out when we get to it. But that's how that's going to work. So I'm not going to completely build it. If I can do it this way, then I could build all that and just cover the bulbs with a mask and then paint it all while this is together, which would be great if I can do that. But we definitely need to leave it apart from this until we get these through. Because I figure it's much easier to have a tail here on this end that I can just coil up and tape up so they don't get all painted. And then when I go to attach the wings, it'll plug right into the ship fine. So there we go. That's where we're at. I think that'll all work. Get this wing assembly done. All right, now I glued these on. I just kind of did them off camera because there was a lot of focusing on getting them lined up correctly, these little blocks. But everything's working good. We got our spinning there, we got that movement, and we have that movement. And the wires are flowing through and on both sides. So that's great. But we can add these wing tips to the end. We just got to fish the wire through that hole and stick them on out through. Now, we don't want to pull them fully tight because we got to get some epoxy on there. A piece of tape. And we don't need much for these little ends, and then we'll clamp them and let those cure. Probably before I mix this, I'll get the other one in the same position. And it definitely does help adding a little more hardener, just a skosh, kind of like Bondo. Yeah, let's get this one in the same state before we mix those two together. Tweezers over two. The red one hasn't shown itself yet. There it is. There we go. Now we can do a mix. Where's my mixing? This tool ended up just becoming a putty. I use it for perfect plastic putty, all kinds of stuff. If not, or this one here, I use a lot for spot putties and perfect plastic putty. I got this at Wonderfest from a booth. I can't remember. They did a lot of sculpture stuff. This was pretty neat, but I bent it all out of shape. If I make it there this year, if I, depending on my health situation, um, I will stop there again if they're there and pick up more stuff like that. All right, which is going to be the easier. I guess we can do something like this. I'm going to hit this part. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to kind of stay a little bit away from the wire hole, just so it always has slack play. Oh, and it's lining up good. Uh, you remember how we made these with that angle using the engine pieces, and it actually all lines up. Well, these might actually work. It doesn't flip out of my hands. Well, I wonder if I should go with the those little cheap dollar store ones. Yeah, these stupid things are like cheap at a dollar store. Yeah, they have a little bit stronger spring in them or something. Or do I do a piece of tape here and then try to set it like that? I think that might be the way to go. Stay. Could need stronger tape than the purple tape.
That's a modification that we did. And so we have a little hole up here, as you can see.
Yeah, because that needs to move in.
For where the deflector, the center pin of the deflector
stuck on there and move that. Try to align this.
That is the center for my lighting for my deflector dish. So I moved that out just a little bit bigger in order to accommodate a 3mm standard 3mm.
Sorry, I'm off camera.
And that was what I decided to use for my LED lighting for my deflector dish. I'm going to show you the secondary light.
How do we look on this? Actually, can go that way a little more.
I glued that in and just kept it so that it was flush. I didn't let the head of it out on this side at all. Barely had the tip, the kind of round part of the tip was barely sticking out there. And glued it with some CA glue.
Here we go.
What we did is we, of course,
oh, can I still get one of these here to help press it level? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, because it's already starting to tack up. And it usually doesn't tack this quick if I do 1-to-1. It's starting to turn like a little thicker. I wonder if I should get a piece of tape ready. Starting to feel the cold come on, I think. I hope not. Not before I get the storm. We're getting that big storm coming here this weekend. We'll throw another clamp here. I gotta invest in deeper, like C clamps. The only thing I miss about styrene kits is gluing's faster. You can use you're using a weld bond. Styrene glues actually weld the plastic together. Filaments, PLAs, and blah blah blah. You have to super glue, or I find epoxy a little better because super glues can be brittle. They're great for tacking stuff quick. Might be able to get another piece of tape to kinda pull this side tighter. Get it. There we go. Yeah, I think we're going to do that on this side too. This one seems like we got pretty tight because I'm not getting that squishy squish. There we go. That'll hopefully keep everything more square. I wonder if I can sneak that out of there. Do this. And then clamp that. And that'll keep it from doing that. And then the tape's pulling them together. Let's do that on here too. All right, let's let those cure. Well, all right. I did some work in the cockpit. I got this on. I did a lot of figuring out. I did it off camera because I really needed to concentrate on exactly what I was going to do in here. And I think I came up with something that hopefully will work. We'll find out when it goes to being putting parts in here. But what we did, I was able, and I wanted to get these pieces on. There's two panels here, 1 and 2, one long one and this little short one. And then I took out the other one that where this window frame broke, and printed a new one knowing that I was going to do that. So pulled the other one out, put this one in, and then but before I put these in, I had to figure out how I was running my lighting. These are a markup, I guess you could say, of the consoles. They'll sit like this, and then this one will be like that, and in between will be his control yoke. So I'll eventually just do the same thing but print it in clear resin. And I got a light back here. So this guy will sit. Can I zoom in? This guy here will sit right about there. So I kind of marked where it would be. That way I knew where I could. And they do have a floor on these consoles. This part is actually going to be a floor, and so will this part. They actually butt up together. Plus, then you have there's another floor that goes in here, and it actually has like a track that his chair goes from pilot position to down along, so he can kind of come down alongside the console here if he needs it. So it's like a track that sits and does this. It has a little arc. Let's see if I can get that on the camera. So if these were like this, his chair is in this position, and then it has a track so he can slide. Well, I happen to get up, he can just slide over. Or if he needs to work at one of these computers. So there's a floor, and it's not like a whole floor piece. It's kind of like comes out, goes in, does all this weird, like a step up. There'll be a step up in the floor. And you start when you first come into the cockpit area, it's going to be the main floor, and then it'll step up just like 1.5 millimeters or whatever, about the thickness of this. It'll butt right level with that. So this is supposed to be a continuation of it. So that gives us all kinds of places where we can dig trenches and if we needed to. I thought about and hide wire. So I know this here I marked, and I just dug a trench all the way over here. That way I can get to this console. And then what I did is I put a little SMD LED there. This little guy. So eventually, in the slicer for the resin printer, I'm going to because I know resin itself is fragile trying to drill. I mean, you can really slowly and with a good bit. But this is such a small piece. So I'll probably go in the slicer. You have the hole tool, and I believe you can tell the depth, tell how deep it goes. I believe if I can do that, then I'll just pre-drill a hole so it prints with a hole there that I can just slide that LED facing up into this console area. It'll be probably right about there. That way it gets up here because there's a monitor right here, and we'll see how much we get light throughout the rest of this. So that'll give some light, at least in this area on these in that console area. And then I took cob lighting. Well, and then I just dug that trench, and that's why I wanted these off so I could get my Dremel in there. So I just used like a jeweler's bit. Where's the? I just used a jeweler's bit. I think the biggest one I have is here, where it has the round with teeth, and just dug that out, and then even hit the wall. So when this goes in, it'll be flush. Hopefully, yeah, we're looking good. So that way, when these go in, it's gonna hide that wire. It will hide that wire in the floor, and then we'll have a hole for that to pop up into. And I had to measure how much I bent up with this little console. So hopefully we're good. I can actually set it down and see. Yeah. So I'll have to measure and then measure what size hole I drill in the slicer. So hopefully that'll work. But for this back console, it's like almost like two segments of LEDs too long, and one's kind of shy. So I kind of put it about center, but cheated it a little bit more this way because there's more uh, stuff over here. I think there's monitors here. There's definitely there. I know there's one there. So I kind of cheated a little more that way. But hopefully we'll see how resin clear will take the light and glow. But I didn't know where I was going to put it. I was thinking about putting it back here. Maybe here's an actual shelf, a rest for when you're on the console. So I wasn't going to go any higher than that because it's a little thicker there. And I was going to place it in the back wall. Whether I just dug a trench in here, and I still wasn't even at that time sure what light I was, but I was leaning towards cob because it gives you a lot of little lights in this little space. Um, and that I could actually just dug a round trench and probably just stuck it on here and got it to do that. But what I was thinking, so that I get these buttons down here and everything, I can just glue it to the floor because also there's the hole for the chase hole, and I wanted to put a, unless I actually did attach the cob light to the console, I was really wanting it more just to be trenched in here and flush so that the console would just come in. What I'll do on the back of the console is I'll actually cut a notch to allow this to sit over that cob light. So we'll just come in here and dig a trench. But that'll hide that, and then this will glow upwards. We'll paint these black, and then I'll just go in and scratch the buttons. And if I want them colors, I'll just hit it with transparent red, blue, green, yellow, white. White, you don't have to do anything. Just scratch it. So that's where we're at. I did all kinds of testing while it was there. Now that I have the trench dug here for the wiring and stuff, I really have no need. I can actually add these panels because I have no need to get to a tool in there. So, and like I said, I wanted to get these on before I start priming because then I can take care of these seams here. So what we can do, oh, and then I also glued a little detail. I guess it's like three little bar things. I got those in. He made them separate. They hide seams. The seams pretty good there. I might run a little perfect plastic putty in there. I don't know if I want to putty this or not. I kind of like it as a separate chunk because it would make sense. That's a panel. That's a panel. Even though they're made up of multiple little panels. Where I do want to get it nice and clean is on this side. Is back here and what you can see there. But I think the top and the bottom, because the bottom makes sense too. If we just make it look like a natural panel line, it'll work. Is there anything else I was doing? This was the main thing I wanted to do off camera and get ready. And once this cures, we'll seal all this up and get all these seams looking good. And yeah, it's getting down to it. It's really getting down to little detail stuff. I got these. I had to file these not on the actual grills on these, but on the actual ship. I had to file them a little bit and then actually go in and sand these to get them to fit in here nice and snug. Those I won't even have to mess with. When I want these in, they're in there. It's usually best to come off this corner like that when they come up. But then these will go here and look like they're up. But we got to come up with a way to But I think I'm just going to do a magnet and keep it simple. So I think what we'll do is we'll do like I did on the sand crawler. I'll probably just take a piece of metal and bury it down flush in here. And then we'll put a magnet on this end. And that way we can just click and we're good. And we take it off and then we can put these in. And like I said, these I won't even have to put a magnet on because they fit in there nice. I spent some time to get them to fit in there nice, but still loose enough that I don't have to really sit there and pry. So this is what we did down here. Started hitting some detail parts. I reprinted this ramp. I think I'm gonna have. I mean, I could leave it so it can open, but the problem I have, in order to make it look good on this side, you got to print it laying flat on this side until I can get like maybe even a smooth build plate. That you know would work. But I don't think I'm ever gonna have this open. I'm not. Even if I do have the lane, I printed both landing gear in case I do want to. And the whole purpose of a jack here, so we can lift it off the power, lift it off the stand, and then put the retracted or the ones that are down and have it set. But I don't think I'm ever gonna have this open for a lot of reasons. It seems like it's kind of more set up to be if that's how you're gonna have it and you want that down, because the ramp, you got this part, but then there's this another little part. It's not like the shuttle tide earring where you have a piece that slides in and you can extend it. So it's like, how do you keep it on here when you do want it on, and then you would have to take it off in order to close the hatch. Also, when you want to close the hatch, you would have to take the hydraulics that attach here and up in here out. Again, if you were going to always have it sitting on its landing gear and this open, that wouldn't be a problem. You just glue it and that's it. And there's no other way to, you know, it's not like Ahsoka's landing gear. That's the same problem they have because since the hydraulics don't actually squish when it goes up, it's still got to keep that length. So if it's got a length like this, it's got to go up and it'll end up popping out the top of, of the model. So that doesn't work. So what they did with Ahsoka's T6, um, I think it's hooked here, and up here you kind of just squeeze it so it unhooks from up top, or it's hooked up there and you squeeze it here to unhook it, and then you push the hydraulics up into it. They'll stay attached at their pivot point there, and then you just close the ramp behind it, and that gives you you don't see that it's not really working like it should. So I'm just gonna scrub that. If I have her down, we'll just have her sitting like he's not there with the wings up, and we'll just glue that shut. So that way I was able to just reprint. And then the good thing about it is I don't have to go in and clean up those pads that I puttied. Yeah, so we're just going to glue this shut. We can, don't worry about cleaning the panel line area, because it should look like that. And then we got the detail that's supposed to be on there. Other thing I did, I got to watch so I don't break this new one, is right here. Put this piece in. This was a brilliant uh, thing where you had seams from all these big parts coming up that you could see. I think there was one going this way and one going down the center. And he made this detail separate so you could put that in and cover all that. So that's great. And then the other thing we did, so this is done. So I printed one that was solid in case you were going to have the landing gear on and you didn't need this post hole. So I took that, measured the, where's it? blank jack here. Got the diameter of this part, which is a 1/4 inch, and drilled a 1/4 inch hole. So that took care of that part. I had to do a little etching to get this thing to stick up because you can see it just sticks up, but not enough for these cheap twist on nuts to really grab onto. You know, a lot of times those cheap, real thin, it's more because they're really thin. In order to get them to grab, they have to get a couple good turns down in. So I took a bigger bit, the 5/16, which is the size of the actual main body, and just kind of slowly went in and it made a divot where I could get this up and then really tighten this. And this will be fine once it's painted. It'll look like some type of detail. And then I took that 5/16 bit and drilled right straight down to widen this hole so this could actually fit in there. Also saw down in the corner here, I saw a little opening. So I took the other drill bit that I needed just enough to get 3 wires. You know, 3 wires like these to go through. A red and a black, and then we'll do a blue or a yellow, whatever we're going to use for a switch leg for these plasma cannon or laser beam kind of things. Um, and I drilled at an angle, and I didn't have to worry about if I gooned this up because it'll be covered with this. And got there an angle, and poop, it sure enough, it popped through. So I can actually slide a wire down through. So that's gonna, I think this is gonna work out good. So eventually we'll have that. I'm gonna keep this off until I'm done painting it. We can have that down like that, and then have the male part on, since it fits exactly in a brass tube like that, which is wonderful. And I'll actually solder it on. I'll have to scuff that. I think I can get it soldered to this. I know it'll solder to the brass. Can I get it soldered to that? Should. It's probably almost the same material as all this. But then this will go in, and that should hold the ship because there's not, it's not a lot of weight to it, so it'd be fine. I think we're all good. Clear parts are back in there. The wings, we got that figured out. We got the wires here. I think I'm gonna start working on the actual part that covers that. I'm gonna put the bulbs in here, run the jumper from this negative to this positive, and then we'll get these on. And I think what we'll do is, this is not the right side, of course. We'll get them in there, solder them, and then, because I'd like to have these down when we actually start painting these wings. And then we'll just stuff some, newspaper or, even tissue paper, like paper towel or something, in there to keep the bulbs from getting all gooned up. Because I think I can get the grill and its clear part in afterwards. So that way I can paint all this. I'll paint the grill, glue the clear part to it, and then slide it right in there. And it'll hit. I think there's a little bump somewhere that it'll hit, and then we'll tack it. We should be good that way. And I printed smaller. I think that what I'm going to say here is on the other clip, but I'm going to print new. I printed new shutters here that are hair smaller that they can just fit in there. Hopefully it'll be a nice compression fit. There's the notch there for the door, so I can get it in there and hold it. I printed it just enough. I'm hoping I can get a part of it in that track too. But then I have the shutter part in there, so when it's open, you can see a little bit of the shutter like it's supposed to. But that'll also work for where I can lay it, some port up here, and then it'll fit in a notch there. So that's how we're going to handle that. So we can't have these plasma guns covered when it's not, being used, and then they can be hidden again. And then we have the end part of this, which now I can take a look and see how it's fitting with these on. That's working good. That'll go there, and then the canopy goes right there. And we have our engines in the back. Flickering away, and I gotta remember to pull all this out and get that clear part out when I start painting. And let's see how. And there's our console area. Actually, that helps keep it from glaring the camera so much. But yeah, and there's a little one that's gonna work for this console. And hopefully it'll. I mean, it does with this one. Fingers are too big. So, and this one here, hopefully will fight the heck out of that console. But yeah, here we are. That's where we're at on this. It's looking good. I did these bulbs off camera. Just getting them started. Mainly glued in, and then I attached the. Well, we can pull the tape off here. No, I was using that to hold them down until the epoxy cured. But of course, this is the flickering bulb, and this is just the regular blue. And what I did is power is going to come in through here, go through this bulb, come out, and then go into this one. And what I did is that these prongs were long enough to actually reach. So I just bent this prong over to touch this positive to touch this negative. So since the power is coming in this way, that's the way it's going to go. And then all I do is cut these short, attach the red from here to that, and then the black to this one. That's where this tool comes in handy. It's a round end with a little slot in it. I don't know if I can see how it has a little slot. It's good at grabbing these, especially if you want to make a sharp bend. That's what I should have done with these bends. I just kind of bent them by hand. And it did the same thing on the other. But on this one, I already cut the non-flasher and this one short. Now my other issue. Well, I could always attach the resistor instead of having a resistor in here. That's where probably LED tape, but like I said, I wanted these to flicker, and LED tape can't do that. Um, but yeah, that's where LED tape would be good. But then LED tape, unless I did cob lighting, like I did with in the cockpit, you could always do that. You get a blue cob light, and you can just stick it back against this wall and run the wire in and solder it. Probably what most people did. But I want mine to flicker a little bit, so we're going to go this way. Yeah, so we'll put the it doesn't matter where you put the resistor as long as you just bring it down to the voltage it needs for these. Now these are each 3 volts, so we got 6 volts that we'll have to calculate at 9 volts and 20 milliamps. The most fun part is going to be getting the black wire to stay tucked under there, because the only bad part about doing it the way I'm doing it is actually soldering, because we can't pull any of these wires. I can't get them to really. I mean, they're semi loose, and I can see a little bit of movement here, but there's a lot of curves these wires are doing. They're going in here and coming out here, going through this area, and then one goes up this way, and the other one comes up and goes up this way, and then they kind of scoot around and around inside here and then come out. But where I was getting at is it's going to be getting these like, as short as possible. So we're almost going to have to like, because I have no room to get rid of slack. We're almost going to have to do like that and then just slowly twist it down and then boom. So, it's always committing because now if I screw up this wire, you know what I mean? How am I going to? I'm going to have to take everything apart and try to fish a new one through. Ideally, I should have started with this and put all this together and then ran the wire through. So that would be the smart way to do it if you're building this at home or in a situation like this with some other model. I should have built it here, then I could have pulled it, had everything nice and snug, and then attached had well, you got to kind of build this while you're running the wire. You can't so and then built these. But I still wasn't at that point sure how I was gonna do these. But it'll be I think best to get these on, and we'll just throw some tissue paper back in here. Oh, I got the main haul. It's first coat of primer, and what a difference it makes when you get your first coat of primer on. Seals up all the little imperfections. Joints look great where the halves went on. That tulip works awesome for like, especially in 3D printing world where things just don't always, or even styrene. I used it a lot. Battlestar Galactica, old school 70s. Was it an MPC or whatever? But the Galactica, where the pylons, launch tube pylons attached to those feet, it was a gap. I just took tulip in there and just smeared it in and let it settle, and it looks fine. But that looks really good. I used them on a Soka ship as well. There, sealed all that. I went back through and did another coat because a lot of times you got to do two with the tulip because it'll eventually seep in, especially bigger gap areas like there. But it looks like a nice panel line now, normal panel line. And how the black, now that everything's black and it actually looks like painted black instead of black plastic, makes a lot of difference and you can see a lot more detail. It hid that seam right there. I'm very happy with that. And it fixes all those little where in filament printing it just leaves those, you can actually see the lines laying on top of it, not build lines like you see on a flat surface, but so it cleans all that up. This all came out good, even underneath. A little bit of weirdness there. Might not cleaned all the tulip off. You got to make sure you clean it off. A lot of times I use my finger or a cotton swab, and I'll just put it in the, like here's the seam here. I just put it in the seam, and a lot of times I take my finger because it's easier, and just do like that. Because tulip eventually doesn't want to really stick to your hands very long, and do that, and then let it seep in. But when there are big gaps, sometimes I'll take either with the nozzle or I'll take something else and kind of squish it so I'll make sure it's going down, and then it'll eventually settle, but it always settles in a nice curve. So it kind of makes a fake panel line. But I wanted to go back through and tidy them up. I was going to put this other little piece on, but I'm thinking it's going to be tough to get those little archways, doorways here. I'm like, I can always come in and touch up just this area. We'll do it as soon as we'll get all base coat in there, and then we'll put those pieces in, and then put that piece down. And then if we got to touch up anything before we put the consoles down, we'll just stick something in there to block it. And then we'll have to touch up in here if we get any overspray in this area. But I even tulip some of the gaps in the walls. There was a gap in the floor there. I fixed that. So it's looking good. Yeah, but we'll put the resistor in in that compartment where everything's going to meet. That way we don't have to try to squeeze a resistor. I mean, we could just touch it there. But it's, try to get it way out here, but then you got another bare wire. Yeah, it's just not good anyway you do it like that. Easier just to put it at the source and it'll be fine. Kind of like a control board has the resistors at the board, not where the bulbs are. Let's stay there and nothing to it but to do it. Let's not screw it up. And let's get them to length first. You're going to come up. But I'd rather cut a smidge longer because I can always take away. I could always put it down and say, no, it's not doing it. And figure it out from there. Then it'll be like, oh, I cut it too short. How can I get, that's the thing, how can I get this to sit up like that? I wonder if I could put a piece of tape here and then have something lean on it. The tape will make like a hinge so this back won't kick out. It's just this has a curve this way and this one has it this way, so it doesn't let me get really close. But what we'll use the tape for is to keep it from sliding like that. Get a little pinning going on here. Now I might use my magnified glass on here. Oh, you guys might not be able to see, but I'm an old man. Sweet, that went well. We can push that one down. Gotta be careful because this will get warm. And I noticed that, like when I had to take Ahsoka's, I'm sorry about this squeaky. When I had to take Ahsoka's spin part where the cockpit goes on and the wings spin apart, because we had an issue. What was the issue? Oh, to put lights up in the cockpit. I think I was going to skip on that or something, or no, or one went out. It went out. That's what happened, and we had to replace something. A wire broke. That's what it was. Just using a hair dryer to heat it slowly. Now I ended up denting the part because the plastic is thermoplastic, so it started to soften as well. But yeah, epoxy will come apart when you heat it up, and I saw that just kind of starting to do that, but it's fine. Now, can you reach, or do we have to slide you the other way? No, you'll reach. That's not the tweezers I want. I like these for holding wire because then I don't have to focus on squeezing it. I can just focus on doing my little turning. Now this one I got enough room that I can actually make a hook. All right. There we go. Now, I'm also, sorry, I might have to try to take this apart, see if I can get in there and get some oil. So that stopped. It's going to be close to getting a new one of these lamps. Although this one's not giving me any trouble. It's just that squeakiness. And it ends up being ultra loud on the camera. Now, what I'm thinking, to glue that wire down in that trench and not have to deal with that cheap super glue, and I keep forgetting to get super glue. I need to order some, so I'm gonna go through and start looking at some super glue. But anyway, I was like, what can I use? Epoxy would take too long. What can I use to glue that down quick? What I end up using is really Solarez, because what one of the main things Solarez is used for is fly fishing. He even talks about it on the back. See, he says here flexible formula for finishing swimmers, flexible parts, and could be used as a wader repair. Great for coating knots and so it's all like it works good for fishing stuff, especially the flexible, I guess, because you want things to still move. Where this gets hard, but I use this and it worked like a super glue, but yet you tell it when to cure, and it's better than those kickers because a lot of those kickers, especially the aerosol, are not healthy for you at all. And I don't like the smell of the aerosol ones. I don't even like the smell of the pump ones either. But I'd rather have the pump ones because it doesn't. You're not breathing all that. So maybe we'll do that with this negative. Try to get that down. I can kind of do this and get it in its trench. Just to keep it in place. But it worked great for that other wire. And hit it with a little UV. And there you go. It's done. I'm liking that little trick. Would I use it to bond parts together? No. But the whole little tack little wires looks great. All right, let's see how bad this is. How much? I really wish I could get in there and pull some of that wire. You'd think here I'd be able to pull some of it. Oh, yep. Oh, that was great. My negative does not want to move. Negative saying negative on moving. Did we stay in our spot? Yeah. I'm wondering if some things got glue where in this tunnel, even though I did try to keep it away from the tunnel. Well, we're not shutting up too much. I think some of it's going to be the bulbs hitting here, which I might just hit with my Dremel. Really, I think it's just the lip of it. You know how at the end they have like a little lip. I just got to be careful I don't get into the element, or we're done. I think we're good. I think we're good to glue that. That worked out okay. And just like with anything, we'll hit tulip all the way around there to seal that up. So we don't get any black tulip. I like because it also will light block at the same time. So that's a good little trick if you need something to tack really quick that's not structural. I wonder if we should get both of them in the same state, and that way I can just mix up one thing of epoxy and go from there. Okay, tinning on these guys as well. Before we do that, do I need to grind any of this too? That one wasn't as bad. The other one might have lifted up. This one I'm gonna have to hold up. So let's go with the black one first. So I might have made that red one a little short. Not. It's still gonna work. It's probably as far as once it goes together, it's gonna be better than probably all the rest of them. But right now, it's gonna have to hold it up and solder. I'm tugging and it ain't moving, so we're gonna go with it. There we go. We just need to keep it from moving on us. I'm doing that. I'm gonna use the tape to keep the back end from kicking. Something I can put back here. Can't do the solder because I need it. There we go. That'll work good. Oop, need some solder. I hate doing these type of solder joints where I can't wrap the wire around, but I think we're good. Let's do the same thing. Let's get this negative in there. I don't know if I'm going to do the same thing as far as tacking it with the Solaris. Or can I just tuck it in that little hole and it'll stay? I think it will. Okay, nothing to it but to glue it. Probably going to be doing a lot of spinning, so I'm going to smooth this because it's a big wing. I got to make sure I don't hit that. All right, carry this tape. I wish I could test it, but we're just going to have to go for it. It's not a hard part to get apart if we need to. Since I do have some time, which way was I getting them to pull? There we go. Let me see if we can pull these back. Oh, negative, I definitely can. Make sure we still have a. Yep. this side first because this one has the alignments. You go up the panel lines. What is going on here? Get off that gun. Got something going on here. The red wire is. What did I do with that? There. Let's see if we can pull that red wire a little bit. I'm thinking one of them gets pinched. It's just that you're going over there and there's plenty of space for you to be over here. I think it's more than just the wire. Oh, of course you're going to fight me here. I'm going to have to use my more epoxy here. That did it. Problem there is I got that little, there's that little spike there. There we go. Yeah, that's exactly what we want. Maybe for just giggles, we'll put another one there just to. All right, next. I don't know if we're going to be able. I have enough epoxy for it. Yeah, might. You might, rabbit. Starting to set up. No, I'm going to need more. Well, you know what I'll do? I'll get a good tack. I actually might, but I'm going to back it up with a little Gorilla Glue. Because these are going to set overnight anyway, so it's going to be in clamps for a while. Now, don't you be stubborn because you went. No, that's warping it out of shape. Where are all the feet on my things? There we go. I think I'm going to do that for the other one too. That one looks good. Let's see. Yeah, that's following the pin line. We got about the same gap. Go back just a hair. Yep. Seriously? That's getting old too. Yeah, where are the little feet? There we go. Yeah, I only see a little gap there. But that's what tulip's for. Do another double take on this one. Or do we need to see something here? We need to move that way a little bit. Yes, we do. And then we'll slide the clear part in the grill in there once we're done painting. Like I said, I might just for shits and giggles paint the grills a little bit of a darker color. Anyway, to make it look like they're made out of a different material. All right, well, nothing else to do except for let those cure, and then we can start cleaning these wings up, getting these seams fixed. I want to putty up these guns a little bit, and the only other major things to be done in here is the lasers, which really just got to be installed. But I might wait till later, till we're done painting them, because that way I could stuff some tissue paper in here. Actually, I'm just going to tape that wire up and just let it hang. We'll pull it out and tape it up. That way we can get some paint in here. And then I want to install the guns, the plasma beam in each one of these. So I think that would be better because I might make them different colors. I may actually the part that shoots, maybe do it like a gunmetal. And then it's down to painting. Yep, it's down to painting. Getting this hull. That's why I want to get this that all set up and primered, so we can start painting the hull and get these caught up.